everybody, Charles Softly for PremierGuitar.com. I'm here with Isaiah Mitchell of Earthless, and we're here to preview, a world-exclusive preview, of Fender's new Pawnshop series guitars. So Fender's new Pawnshop series was inspired not only by the work that a lot of inventive players did in the 60s and 70s, taking apart various classic Fenders and putting them back together in various incarnations. They're also inspired by some of the prototypes that leaked out of the Fender factory in the 60s and 70s, often with somewhat bizarre and unorthodox features. They include a Mustang with humbucking pickups called the Mustang Special, a Strat and Tele hybrid called the 72 Pawnshop, and this 51, which is also a Telecaster and Stratocaster hybrid, and also loosely inspired by the Squire 51 that Fender released a few years back. So the Fender Pawnshop 51 has a maple neck, obviously, with medium jumbo frets, which feel great, make for great bending. It's got some Clues-on style tuners, like you'd see on most 50s and 60s Fenders. And an alder body. It's got really nicely balanced, feels really smooth. The Texas Special single coil is very buttery sounding. And the Enforcer is much hotter, obviously. Very cutting, although when you activate the single coil, the split coil, gets a little thinner with a little less output and a little more cutting as well. So Isaiah is going to show us what the Fender Pawnshop 51 will do. We're rolling through a 64 Fender Tremolux Blackface and a 1963 reissue Fender Reverb unit. Isaiah is going to run through the various pickup configurations, starting with the Texas Special single coil. This here is the Fender Pawnshop Series 72, and obviously it's related to the 51 in terms of its basic design and body shape and pickguard configuration. But unlike the 51, which was inspired by the Fenders of the 50s, the Fender 72 is inspired by some of the Fender Deluxes and that you saw around in the late 60s and early 70s. The most obvious inspirations are this F-hole, which you saw in a lot of Fender Deluxe, Telecaster Deluxes in the late 60s, early 70s. Also, this humbucking pickup, which was often either in the neck position or the neck and bridge position on a lot of Fender Deluxes from that period. There's a lot of period correct details here, like this bullet truss rod adjuster, and there's also a 3-bolt neck and some F-tuners here, which are typical of the Fenders of the period. The wiring of this particular model is unique because rather than have a 3-position switch or a tone knob, this back knob, which would ordinarily be the top tone knob on, say, a Telecaster, is a blend switch for the 2 pickups. And this is just a basic master volume. So Isaiah is going to let it rip on the Fender Pawnshop 72 on the neck humbucking pickup. This beauty is the Fender Pawnshop Mustang Special. Obviously the design is rooted in the Mustangs of the 60s that later became favored by folks like Kurt Cobain and Mudhoney, Adrian Belew. It's got a 24-inch scale neck, which is a little bit short, but super fast and comfortable once you get used to it. And unlike the Mustangs of the 60s, it's got medium jumbo frets, though, which make it a really, really quick guitar to get around. Nice to bend notes and do some wobbles. It's got some period correct details like these Clouzon style tuners, which are a breeze to use. Unlike the Mustangs of the 60s though, it's got a hardtail bridge like you see on some of the hardtail Strats of the 70s. What might be the neatest thing about the Mustang Special is these great humbucking pickups, which to this point have only been available on the Lee Ranaldo Signature Jazzmaster. But a really broad voice, really burly if you want them to be, and also really tailorable given the wiring system of the Mustang Special. Not only can you switch between the pickups and mix them, you can also use these switches to split the coil as well. So there's myriad pickup possibilities that are available on the Mustang Special. Alright, so Isaiah's going to let it rip on the Fender Mustang Special. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for this world-exclusive preview of the Fender Pawnshop series. It's been a blast checking out these guitars and having you along for the ride. This is Charles Softley for Isaiah Mitchell for PremierGuitar.com.